Bengals versus Bills. This is the game that I've been waiting all season long for. We didn't really get to see it in the first time they met up on Monday Night Football because of the situation with Damar Hamlin. Great to see Damar in good spirits, doing well when it comes to his recovery. When it comes to this game, though, for those of you guys who've been listening to the podcast dating back to before the season started, I said that whoever wins between the Bengals and the Bills was going to be the team who represents the AFC in the Super Bowl. Now, that's because I thought that this was going to be the AFC Conference Championship game. Bengals-Bills was my AFC Championship game prediction, but we're getting this game in the divisional round. But same principles still apply in my book. I think the winner of this game is going to end up winning the AFC. Both of these two teams have beaten Kansas City. So you look at Cincinnati, and they do something that the Buffalo Bills don't do a good job at, and that's taking care of the freaking football. Joe Burrow has been the best fourth quarter quarterback in the NFL this season. He had a really good game against the Baltimore Ravens, although it may not have been the most impressive game from a box score standpoint. 32 of 32 or 23 of 32 for 209 passing yards, completed 71% of his passes, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. You can trust Joe Burrow to take care of the football. The question is, can you trust Josh Allen to take care of the football? And it's really strange how Josh Allen is better taking care of the football playing from behind than he is when he's playing ahead. And we saw that on full display in their win over the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins were a 14.5 point underdog walking into that wild card round matchup. The Bills go up 17-0, and then Josh Allen just starts being completely reckless. And there was a point during that game where I really was looking at Josh Allen, and I was saying to myself, bruh, Josh Allen looks like he has low-key regressed during this game. And all season long, Josh Allen and the Bills have been turnover prone. They haven't really done a great job at taking care of the football, but they've been able to overcome those turnovers because they're just so damn talented. But against the Cincinnati Bengals, you have that kind of performance that you had against the Miami Dolphins, and I promise you, you're not only going to be in a close game, but you're going to end up walking out with an L. Against a better quarterback, not named Skylar Thompson, you most definitely lose that game. Your defense was able to bail you out a couple of times, but that's because you were going against Skylar Thompson. Now, I'm not saying that your defense may not be able to buy you a couple breaks or two against the Cincinnati Bengals, because although they do have Joe Burrow at quarterback and a fantastic group of wide receivers, they're banged up on the offensive line. They got 3 injuries. They're down 3 starters. Jonah Williams, La'el Collins. They got another person who's out. And it's like, damn. Cincinnati spent all this money in the offseason to revamp and improve this offensive line just to be back in the same situation that they were last year. But guess what? Cincinnati, they're not scared. They know how to win, not having great play from the offensive line. But at the same time, though, you give a team like Cincinnati a couple of extra possessions, and they can make you pay. So for the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen's turnover problems are extremely concerning. Again, people got to understand this. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, with their playing styles and, the way they go about trying to make certain plays happen, they're super aggressive. So you're going to have some years like this one when Josh Allen is racking it up in the turnover department. But this team, defensively, they're going to be able to neutralize that Cincinnati Bengals offense at times. And I think the biggest matchup when it comes to deciding who's going to win this game is going to come to the perimeter. The Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers versus the cornerbacks and the defensive backs of the Buffalo Bills. When you're facing Cincinnati, ideally, when you think of teams who go far in the postseason, most of the times it's teams that have great offensive line play. But Cincinnati is this rare outlier because although they don't have a good offensive line at the moment, They're so good at being able to generate big plays that you could put them in 2nd and long, 3rd and long, and they can get half that yardage back and put themselves in 4th and manageable. They're able to generate big plays at such a consistent level that even though their offensive line isn't great, you still have confidence at their ability to have success because of these receivers' abilities to win one-on-one. Let's be honest, bro. Nobody is bold enough to play complete man-to-man coverage on Cincinnati's receivers all game long, and that's a big reason why it's so hard to stop this offense. So if you're Leslie Frazier and you're Sean McDermott, you're going to have to be talking to your cornerback and saying, hey, Kyle Elam, you better win. We need you to slow down T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd. We need Trey White to be able to take away, Jamar Chase. Not to mention, we can't forget about Hayden Hurst. So for the Buffalo Bills, defensively, against these Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers, this is going to be a really big matchup. I think this is what is going to win or lose this game for both teams. You allow these Bengals wide receivers to win their matchups, and you allow Joe Burrow to get the ball out fast, Cincinnati's going to torch you. But if you can, slow down this passing attack, and you can slow down these receivers, and you can get home, and you can get pressure on Joe Burrow, that's where this game is going to be won and lost at. You saw how the Super Bowl went. The Bengals pretty much had control of that game until the final remaining minutes. And on their final drive, that's where their lack of talent on the offensive line really hurt them. For the Buffalo Bills, you got to be able to slow down these receivers. Now, the run game for Cincinnati, it's been pretty good, even though you wonder how committed Cincinnati will remain to the run game in a game like this. If Cincinnati doesn't have success running the football early, do you think they shy away from it? If this ends up being a game that ends up going into shootout territory, how much confidence do they have in that run game? That run game is going to be big because if Cincinnati can't be able to stay balanced, they're going to have to rely on Joe Burrow to win throwing the football, and there's no problem with that. But when you look at the success that the Buffalo Bills have had this season, generating pressure on the quarterback, you got to remember, when Von Miller went down early, everybody was asking, what's happening to the pass rush? Where's the production going to come from? You got Ed Oliver, AJ Epinesa, Gregory Rousseau. You have a really good pass rush and a really good group of guys who you can bring in who can all get pressure on the quarterback. So if Cincinnati ends up being one-dimensional in this game and they can't run the football, I think they're going to be in a lot of trouble. Now, the Buffalo Bills, okay? The Buffalo Bills, they're going against a Cincinnati Bengals team that, unlike you, takes care of the football. So, therefore, you need Josh Allen to maybe only have 2 turnovers or less. Really, you want him to have no turnovers. But if Josh Allen only has 2 turnovers or less, I think that's a win. Now, outside of the turnovers, Josh Allen is a dog. He pretty much is the second best quarterback in the NFL behind Patrick Mahomes. If you're looking for somebody who is identical to Patrick Mahomes, who can go toe-to-toe with him and match Patrick Mahomes throw for throw, it's Josh Allen. And these receivers, they show up in the big games. Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. You're going against a secondary in Cincinnati that was getting carved up by Tyler freaking Huntley. Tyler freaking Huntley. And remind you that the Ravens are not a passing team. 4 wide to them is having several tight ends on the field. And when you're getting carved up by a team that doesn't really get a lot of production out of the receivers, that's a problem. You look at Dawson Knox and what he's done all this season long for the Buffalo Bills, especially in the red zone. How is Cincinnati going to game plan for that? So we were talking about the matchup of the Bengals wide receivers versus the defensive backs of the Buffalo Bills. When you look at the matchup of the Bills receivers versus the secondary of the Cincinnati Bengals, I kind of want to say it's a little bit of a mismatch. The second cornerback spot for Cincinnati concerns me. You do have Mike Hill in Chidobe Awuzie. You got Jesse Bates, but Von Bell is kind of having a little bit of a down season. His 2021 campaign, was way better than the season he's had this year. He hasn't been bad, but he was a lot better last year. So I think that the Buffalo Bills could have a good amount of success when it comes to being able to generate big plays. And I definitely think that second cornerback spot of Cincinnati is definitely going to be a huge concern of mine. You have Cam Taylor-Britt there, Eli Apple there. So don't really know how many big plays the Cincinnati Bengals are going to give up in this game. I think they're going to give up a good amount. Now, the Bills have a fantastic defense. They're fourth in rushing yards per game allowed. They don't really give up too many points. Not to mention, they're fantastic getting off the field in situations such as third down. They limit teams in the red zone. They have a fantastic pass rush. And when you're going against the Cincinnati Bengals, one of the most important things is being able to get off the field in third down. I think that Joe Burrow, one thing that isn't talked about enough is how fantastic he is in third down situations. The guy doesn't make too many mistakes on third down, and as long as he has a little bit of protection, he moves the chains more times than not. And although he isn't the kind of athlete that Josh Allen is, he can make you miss. There were a couple of instances this season where he's made 2-3 defenders miss, and it's kind of taking me by surprise. I was kind of like, damn, I didn't know Joe Burrow could do that. I didn't know he was capable of doing that. So for the Buffalo Bills, when it comes to these third down situations, you got to get Joe Burrow and company off the field, because this is where they can really make their killing. Now, my keys to this game for both teams is who can limit the big plays. Both of these offenses are fantastic at generating big plays in the passing game, especially for the Buffalo Bills. You can generate big plays in the passing game and on the ground with Josh Allen's scrambling ability. You look at these receivers of the Cincinnati Bengals, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins versus Teron Johnson. You have the potential of Kaiir Elam having to start. He had a pretty good performance against the Miami Dolphins. His rookie season, for the most part, has been a little bit underwhelming. And for the Cincinnati Bengals, can you take advantage of Kaiir Elam, somebody who has struggled as a rookie? So that Bengals receivers versus Bills secondary matchup, that's going to be probably the biggest matchup that determines who wins or who loses this game. The team I'm going to take the win, I'm taking the Bengals. And this probably is going to surprise a lot of people. The reason why I'm taking Cincinnati is not because of their offense. I'm taking Cincinnati because of their defense. Their defensive coordinator is really good at making second half adjustments. And I remember the adjustments that they made in the second half of that AFC Championship game last year on the road in Arrowhead. They held Patrick Mahomes to 55 or 56 passing yards and 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. I think their defensive coordinator is going to have a fantastic game plan when it comes to giving Josh Allen a lot of problems. Josh Allen is a fantastic quarterback, but he is somebody who can be extremely reckless with the ball at times. If you can get your pass rush going, or you can get some good blitz packages going on them and they can hit home, you can also force turnovers that way, because when it comes to him taking care of the ball inside the pocket, his ball security can also be reckless at times as well. I just like the Cincinnati Bengals. I really feel like this Cincinnati defense steps up in the postseason. Like all throughout their playoff run last year, their defense made nothing but big play after big play and big moments in every single game. And you saw that last week when their defense forced that fumble by Tyler Huntley on the quarterback sneak, and it got scooped up and recovered 98 yards for that touchdown that pretty much sealed the win for Cincinnati. So I think that this defense could potentially make a similar play late in the game that alters the momentum of this game and wins it for the Cincinnati Bengals. I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to win this game 24-17. to 20 is going to be my final score prediction for this matchup.